Alright, our last lesson is on surface area of composite objects. Now this is actually a longer lesson, so you are going to have to pause quite a bit to either draw or to write some definitions or steps down, okay? So first we're looking at what surface area is, and it is the total area of the surface of an object. Okay, you've learned this before. Surface area shouldn't be too new to you guys. So there are two ways to calculate surface area of a composite object. Okay, so one, we're going to calculate the surface area of each component and then subtract the total area of overlap. So that's the one we're really focusing on today. Okay, there is another way, and that is to calculate the area of each exposed surface and add. But we're not going to go into that as much. I'm not showing you that today. I'm only showing you number one, because that is what we want to put all the components together, okay? So you already learned about area of overlap, and today we're going to use it when we calculate surface area. So it's very important to show your work when calculating the surface area, and you have to include these things, okay? So I hope you're pausing. First, drawings with dimensions. You need to have your drawings and you need to have the dimensions written down, or it's going to get very confusing to do larger objects. Formulas for each shape, set of dimensions used, okay? So you might have triangles, you might have rectangles, you might have squares, you might have circles. You need to know your formulas for each of those and use them properly. And then finally, you need to show your calculations for each step and for the final answer. Okay? We don't want to just see your answers because you whipped out a calculator and did it. That's great if you can. You need to write down what you were doing. Okay? So now we are on the back of your sheet. So after you've paused and written all this down, you can come back and we are on the back. So I want you to remember, okay? Remember how we decomposed in previous lessons. Okay, so we have the same shape. So I wanted you to see all the different steps you can do with this, with your shapes. Okay, so remember in our decomposed lesson, we cut it here and we drew these boxes. Okay, so we have our measurements now. We have 7 centimeters by 6 centimeters by 9 centimeters. We had 7 centimeters by 6 centimeters by 6 centimeters, and we had 7 centimeters by 6 centimeters by 6 centimeters. Okay? Now remember when we did our last lesson with area of overlap, we had to cut here. You knew that this here was 3 centimeters. So you know the rest of it here is 6 centimeters tall, our shaded area. Okay? And remember, this was also a shaded area. Okay. So now that we have this set up, we are on to our next step, and that is doing the net. So remember, you've already done the net in the previous lessons, right? So with the net, we're going to take our marker and we're going to unfold this box first. Okay, so let's do all the calculations for this box right here. So it's always best if you can picture it and start on the side or on the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to start with this front side first. So let's draw. And it doesn't have to be perfect, it just has to be, you should always use a ruler, okay, to draw these out. So that's the front. And then I'm going to do the bottom, which is a little bit smaller, right? And then I'm going to do the top. Okay. I'll try to make it as straight as you can. Okay, so I've done the top, the front, the bottom. So let's do the back. And it's going to be another longer one. Okay, and then we need to do the sides. So remember, when you have a box, you should have 6 sides in the end that you are displaying. If you get a little bit lost, if you end up with only 5, you need to find, you've probably missed the top or the bottom. Okay, so let's measure or put in our measurements. So we know that it is 7 centimeters wide. We know that it's 9 tall. We know that these are 9, front and back. Okay, so 7 all the way down. And then we know this is 6, so these have to be 6. Okay, so now there is our first net. Now we look at our measurements and which ones are the same. Well, I know that 9 by 6, so there's shape 1 and shape 1. We have B and B, and then we have C and C. Okay, so B are both 7 by 9, and C is both 7 by 6. Okay, so now we are finding our area. So we know area equals length times width. Okay, so for shape A, it equals 9 times 6, which equals 63. Or sorry, 9 times 6 is 54, sorry. And we're timesing that by 2, which gives you 108. Now, why did we times it by 2? Because there's 2 shape A's. Okay? Shape B equals 9 times 7, which is 63, times 2, which gives you 126. Oh, and we have to put our measurements, centimeters squared, centimeters squared. Now, C equals 6 times 7, which equals 42, times 2, which equals 84 centimeters squared. Okay, so now we have our totals for each shape. Okay, sorry. And we have to add these together. So 108 plus 126 plus 84 gives you 318 centimeters squared. So that is our total for shape 1. Okay, so now we're on to shape 2. I told you this is going to be a long lesson, okay? So let's do it the same way. So we're starting over here. It's going to be a little bit shorter, right? Okay, so there's our bottom and our side and our side. Now we're going to do the back here. Okay, there's the back side. And now we're going to do the front and the top. So 2 more. 1, 2. Okay, so now we have to label. So remember, this way is 7 centimeters all the way. Okay, the side of this, because we did the bottom here, so that's 6. So these have to be 6. Okay, and then on the back, these are also 6. All right. Okay. So, and if we want to finish it off here, we can. So, now we have less ones to figure out because we have a 7 by 6, okay, And we have 4 of them like that. So these are A, 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 A. And then we have a 6 by 6 and we have a 6 by 6. All right, so sorry about that. So now we do our calculations. Our formula is area equals length times width. For shape A, it equals 7 times 6, which equals 42 times 4 of them. Okay, because 1, 2, 3, 4, which equals 168 centimeters squared. Now for shape B, that equals 6 times 6, which equals 36, times 2, there's 2 of them, which equals 72 centimeters squared. Now we have our 2 totals, so we need to add them together. So 168 plus 72, and that equals 240 centimeters squared. Now our last shape. So our last shape is a bit different because we have a triangle in the front and in the back. So this is going to be a little bit longer. So we're going to do a long line here. And I'll show you what to do with that long line in a second. So really this is going to be your bottom, your top, and your back side. So see this back side? That's where it's going here. And then the middle is the bottom. So the bottom of here. And then this is the top. So I know it looks a little short, but it's going to work for us today. Okay. And then we have a triangle at the top. And we have a triangle at the bottom. Okay. Now, we have to label our sides. So we know this is 7 and this is 7 from the bottom. We know that is 6 deep. So all of these are 6. Now we don't know what this is, but we do know that this is 6 high, this is 6 high, and this is 6 high. So to find this part, we are going to have to do some Pythagorean theorem. Okay, so remember, here's our right angle triangle. This is our C, our A, and our B. So C squared equals A squared plus B squared. And you might have to do this in some of your questions, okay? So this equals 6 squared plus 7 squared, which equals 36 plus 49, which equals 85. And then we take the square root, so our final answer is 9.2 centimeters. So this is 9.2 centimeters, and right here is 9.2 centimeters. Now let's label. So we have an A, a B, oh, and here we forgot to label here, 9.2 and 9.2. We have a C, and then we have D and D. Okay? All right, so for A, B, and C, our formula is going to be area equals length times width. So for A, it is 6 times 6, which equals 36 centimeters squared. For B, it equals 7 times 6, which is 42 centimeters squared. And for C, it equals 6 times 9.2, which equals 55.3 centimeters squared. So those ones are pretty easy. But now D is our triangle. And our area of a triangle equals base times height divided by 2. Okay, remember that? So for D, we have our base is 7, our height is 6, and then we have to divide by 2. So that equals 21, but then there's 2 of them, right? So we have to do our answer by 2, which gives us 42 centimeters squared. All right, so I'm running out of room here, but we have to add all of these that I circled together. So 36 plus 42 plus 55.3 plus 42 gives you 175.3 centimeters squared. Okay. Now, we have to calculate our area of overlap. So remember that. Let's do it right here, area of overlap. Now remember, that is the shaded area. So the shaded area here times 2, the shaded area here times 2. And remember, area equals length times width. It equals 6 times 6, and this is actually 6 times 6. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4. So 36 times 4, which equals 144 centimeters squared. All right. So there, we have all of our calculations done. We have one final one to tell us the total surface area. Now I know this looks like a lot of work, but really, one of these questions is worth a lot of marks, okay? So don't think you're doing like a ton of them. So we have to add up our green and then take away our red, okay? So for total surface area, and I'm going to put it at the top here, total surface area. Okay, we need 318 plus 240 plus 175.3 minus 144. Okay, so that's our calculation that we have to do. So what you should get for the green, you should have added it up and got 733.3 centimeters squared, and then you take away 144, and your final answer should be 589.3 centimeters squared. Okay, that is your final answer. Final answer. Okay, so I know that's a really long lesson. I know you had to pause a lot. Now you have one question to do, one for the assignment, and then you are on to your final stages of your project. Okay?